So, we are talking about how to create balance and flow in your business with me, Katie Brown. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am Katie Brown. I'm a business and marketing coach, and I help holistic entrepreneurs create that really balanced and laid back business through developing marketing strategies and time saving systems, creating processes with their workflow so that are really reflective of their personality. I have 13 years of experience working with creative teams in various industries. I have actually won an award for my project management. Um, and I've helped dozens of clients develop processes and create marketing strategies. I also have these degrees and certifications that you can read if you'd like. And if you'd like to follow me, I am on Facebook and Instagram at KDB Consulting, and my Facebook group is the Be Your Own Boss Lounge. Thank you, Dawn, for tagging everyone. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is saving time and being more efficient in your business. So here are a few ideas of how you can do this. There are many, many ideas behind saving time and being efficient. These are my top 4. So the first thing you want to do is visualize your workflow. So by workflow, I mean, what are the steps you're taking to get shit done? The best way to do this is to start with something that you do daily. So if you have a task that you do every single day in your business, really think about exactly what the steps are that you take to get that done. And picture the whole process. Think about what is going right within that flow, but also what are the roadblocks that you have. So if if you're being interrupted by something, maybe you get a lot of notifications on your phone, that would be a good opportunity to silence your phone while you're working on this particular task. So it's really getting very specific about what you're doing. If you can't really think of a task specifically, maybe you're very new to business and you're just not really sure what you're doing yet, think about something you do maybe in your household. So let's take, I always like to use the example of cleaning up the kitchen after dinner. So what's your process for doing that? And no, it's not just I wash the dishes and I run the dishwasher. Specific steps of how you get through that process. Think about step by step. You're done with dinner, you bring your plate to the sink, maybe you set all the pans to the side, you load the dishwasher with whatever can go in there, then you wash the dishes or the pans, etc. So when you're thinking about this, what are the hangups you have in that? Like maybe you didn't think about certain things that popped up that prevented you from actually going through that very seamlessly. In my case, it's usually a dog is laying in front of my feet and then I typically tend to trip over. So, getting the dogs out of the room when you're about to start doing the dishes, things like that. So these are the roadblocks that we're thinking of. Yeah, Dawn, do not disturb, huge for you. All right, so after you have thought about your workflow and started figuring out these different processes, one of the things that you can do to keep yourself very, very organized is to start creating categories. So specifically in something like Google Drive, if you have documents everywhere and the only way you can find them is using a search bar, and hopefully you're searching for whatever you called it or a keyword that's within the document. A better way to do this is create folders. So for example, I have a folder that says clients. And within my client folder, I have a folder for each individual client. And then that way, when I need to pull up something for Dawn, for example, I can just click on Dawn's folder and find all the information I need for her. And you can do this with many, many things. So if you have several lead magnets, if you have a folder just of ideas, that can keep you very organized because every time you have an idea, you put it in that folder. This can be a physical folder as well. So if you're a note taker, all of your notes or ideas can go together into a folder so that you can easily access them later. All about ease of access and creating more efficiency. Another thing that you need to get really good at is learning how to prioritize your to-do list. So, what I recommend with prioritizing is determining what your what's called business imperatives are. These are the big goals for your business and making sure every single thing you do aligns with those goals. So, we're not just talking about making money or the smaller, like I have a goal to do a Facebook Live in someone else's group. That's a small goal for your business, but that's more like I want to do that in this quarter. Your business imperatives are the things that are driving your business and the actual values that you have for your business. The other thing is it going to make you money? So everything that you do, if you can't figure out if something is a priority, determine, is this going to make me money? Can I delegate it to somebody else? Do I absolutely have to do this? And then, does it have a deadline? So if it's going to make you money and it has a deadline, that's definitely a priority. If it's not going to make you money, but it has a deadline, if you can't delegate it to somebody else, then you got to fit it in somewhere. So it's just learning the flow of these things is what makes you efficient. But also remember, you are the boss, you set the deadline. So if you have a deadline and you don't think you're going to be able to meet it, figure out why you set that deadline and if you can actually move it. And then finally, super important is automation. I love to talk about automation. This is what saves us the most amount of time and makes us the most efficient. And two huge ways to automate is with your client onboarding and with your planning process. So client onboarding, I actually, if you do join my group, I have a huge section on client onboarding within a training that I did a couple weeks ago. So I actually walk you through the whole way to do this, but real quickly, I want to mention that it starts with the discovery call. And on that discovery call or sales call, whatever you call it, this person is starting to become your client. So you want to think about what your process is that you want to take them through at that point. What is the next step for them? Hopefully you have a link to Acuity so that they can actually schedule an appointment with you. And within Acuity, you might have an intake form. Hopefully you have your payment attached to that, integrated with that. And then once they go through that, they get an automated email. So that is a very simplified onboarding process for a new client. With your planning process, it can be a little bit more complicated. Again, I do have this quiz that I'm going to tell you about at the end that breaks down your personality to determine what the best process is for you. So determining your planning process, the way that this helps you automate things is that you know exactly what to do each step of the way every time you start planning something. And hi, Holly. So you figured out how to save time and be more efficient, but you can't just create time, right? So you really need to get realistic about your time. Thinking about outside of your business, what are the things that you have going on in your life? So what's already scheduled? What kind of obligations do you have? You know, doctor's appointments, if you have kids, you know, whatever their schedules look like, things like that. Make sure that's on a calendar somewhere and you've actually blocked out that time so that you don't have a situation where you have forgotten and you get to this point where you're like, oh man, I was going to work on that thing today, but I forgot I have to, you know, go to my in-laws' house or something like that. Next would be your priorities, again, outside of your business. So, you know, obviously our families and friends are our priorities, but so you're thinking about the time that you want to spend with them and actually allotting for that time. And not only allotting for it, but allowing yourself to be flexible with it. Because you may go through phases where you're work, and you have not allotted this time because you don't feel like you, you know, you haven't had that need for connection with your friends. But then suddenly you're like, I miss my friends, I want to go for drinks. So you need to make sure that you're being flexible with yourself in order to be able to still have a life. And then what are your other responsibilities? This is things like, other obligations that you have that take up time. So again, with the kids, if you have to take them to practice or something like that, or maybe you're responsible for always being the person to cook dinner, so making sure that at 5:30 every day, you've allowed yourself 45 minutes to make dinner and then another half hour to eat, knowing that that time is going to be taken up so that you don't overextend yourself in trying to work on your business. Next is the things that you really want to do outside of your business. These would be things like hobbies. Maybe you want to start meditating or continue meditating, having time for it, exercising, things like that. So these are the things that are very important to you that you have not really figured out how to fit into your schedule. Make these priorities. If you truly need them to be in your life, make them a priority and find the time for them. One tip I have for this is, again, with the kids or your spouse or whomever, get them to try to do this hobby with you. So if there's a hobby you have, like maybe you want to pick up scrapbooking, I'm sure one of your kids might enjoy doing that. Or maybe you want to start meditating. There's a good chance that your spouse might want to start meditating too. Or maybe they can just, like mine, just will play video games when I'm doing my thing. So just figuring out how these things can flow with each other will really help you figure out how much time you have afterwards to work on your business. And then finally, you need to make sure that all of these things are aligned with your values, both your personal and your professional values. And finally, or I guess I just said finally, again, finally, I want you to think of this as your time being currency instead of money. So we often think like, I'm not making any money right now, but your time that you're putting into your business really is the currency. The time that you have in your life really is the currency. So whatever time you're spending on things, think of that as a replacement for money so that you can have that same respect for it. All right, now let's get to the good stuff. Choosing the right marketing strategy. I am actually in my group tomorrow going through a training on funnels. So everything to do with funnels. So I'm not going to go super in depth with this. You're more than welcome to join my group and watch that, or if you're already in my group, which a lot of you I think are, you can definitely come watch that. It'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So I just want to tell you the things that you need to consider when you are looking for a marketing strategy. So the first thing is, what kind of product are you selling? So when I say product, I mean a physical product or a service, goods and services. This will really, really determine the types of strategies that you can do. Next, you need to be very clear on your ideal client and where they hang out. So if you have a physical product in a store, your clients are coming into your store, right? Or they might be finding your store because you had a flyer somewhere, so that means you would have some print marketing involved. But if everybody is online, then you might want to think about having social media marketing or an email marketing campaign. So just determining where they are. You might already have a good client base or prospect base. Maybe you have a big email list or something. So perhaps if that's where everybody is, that's where you should focus your marketing. Next, you want to determine your budget. So this is, not just outsourcing things, which you do want to consider, of course, if you're going to hire somebody to do your graphics and maybe create your landing page, things like that, you definitely need to consider your budget. But you also need to consider, are you going to run ads? Have you paid for ConvertKit or Zoom? If you're going to do a webinar, these things that cost money, you need to make sure that those are in your budget. And then finally, this isn't something that many marketers talk about in determining your marketing strategy, but I think it's super important. I guess as a project manager, I want to make sure that everybody is really very considerate of their time. So thinking about what your timeline is to launch this product. So the reason why this is important is because you can do, if you're creating a funnel for something that is going to be an ongoing on-demand product, then your timeline to launch this doesn't need to be quite as long because you're going to continuously be promoting this. But if you have a one-time only sale, or not sale, something for sale, one time only, or you're offering something, maybe you offer a course twice a year or something like that, you might have a longer launch. And you need to be considerate of, are you, again, hiring people for this? What does their time look like? So when can they get you things? But also, how long do you want to be promoting this thing in order to get people to sign up for it or purchase it? Yes, Holly, I'm very excited about your journal. You might, so Holly is saying she needs to switch to a new strategy now that she's selling product, but because it depends on where your client base is. So, I know you have a lot of people who watch your YouTube videos. Maybe you're just mentioning it in there and you have a link in your YouTube videos, so that's something to consider as well. So always knowing where your clients hang out. You might have a very similar strategy as far as where the people are. And everything, can still be online. Okay, so considering your marketing still. So I do want to clear up this, that I am a project manager. I have always worked with marketing teams or creative teams. And so every time I'm talking about a planning process, I am specifically talking about marketing, but you can use these processes for anything in your business, just so you're aware. So creating a planning process for your marketing, you need to consider these things. So first, you need to make sure you know what your goals are, what your business imperatives are, like I mentioned earlier. So what are the big things that you have that you've set for your business? Developing a system based on your personality, and then templatizing your process. So templatizing your process, again, helps you be very efficient so that you know what to do every time. Creating this planning process is going to help you when things you haven't planned for come up. So the powers that be say, plan for 80% so that you can be prepared for the 20% that you're not planning for. I'm reading comments too, not just drinking. Yeah, Holly. So it definitely could be simpler selling a product and getting other people to talk about it as well. So very similar to if you have a book launch and getting people to purchase your product. I mean, you might even want to give out your journal to a few people just so that they can share it on social media, and hopefully it's people that have a big following so that they can say, wow, look at this great journal that I just got from Holly, and like, you should purchase this, here's the link, type of thing, or tag you so that they can get to your link. There's a lot of different things that you can do, especially in organic marketing. I don't get too much into paid marketing. I think that really when we're starting our businesses, the best way to go is through organic marketing, because when you put a lot of money into something and you don't get the return you were expecting, it can really discourage you. And I think that the more we put into organic marketing now, and not putting so much money into it, will help us continue moving forward. And then when you're really good at organic marketing and you've started to build this audience, and then you start doing Facebook ads, your audience is just going to grow that much more. Okay, so back to the planning process. these are the elements of a planning process that you need to consider. Almost all of these every single time you start something new. So first, of course, you need to make sure you have all your goals set. So what's the goal of this particular promotion, we'll call it? What is the marketing strategy that you decided on? Your CTA, at this point, does not need to be exactly what the copy will say. All you need to know at this point is, what do you want your clients to do? So what does their process look like? Do they click on the link from your Instagram bio, and then they go to a landing page, and then they have to sign up for something? That's a CTA. What are the deliverables? So if you're doing a marketing mix, you might be doing social media and email, and then you also have a landing page. So those are all the deliverables. And then, we talked about budget a little bit. The stakeholders would be anybody who's involved in the project. So it might just be you, but it could also be a graphic designer or developer. The tasks would be the things that the stakeholders are doing, and they align with the deliverables. So the tasks would be, sourcing images, creating graphics, things like that. And then all of this has to fall within your timeline. So again, involving the stakeholders to know exactly how much time they have, and determining how long it's going to take to complete the tasks so that your deliverables are done on time. I went through that really, really fast. So let me know if you have any questions. And yes, this is a little Chi-Chi. That's illustrated Chi-Chi. Here's a real Chi-Chi. Hello. Chi-Chi got his picture taken yesterday with a funnel as a hat. All right, so after you have figured out, what your marketing strategy is and what your overall project is going to look like and the process that you're going to start using, you need to figure out how you're going to actually manage this whole project. Best post ever. Thank you, Dawn. So read through these questions. I'm going to tell you what they say too, but read through them as I drink my wine. Look, it's Chi-Chi. So basically, these questions just help you figure out what process to take or how to manage your project. This last question down here, one of the most important things you need from a project management tool. The reason I ask that is that you might not need an actual project management tool. And when I say tool, I mean like Asana or Trello or something like that. Tools can be literally anything you use. So it could be pen and paper. A lot of times when we say systems, we think computer systems, but in this way, we're talking about systems in a process or workflow type manner. So we're thinking about tools in, pen and paper or Excel, any way that you are actually working on something, those would be your tools. So once you've considered these other questions, like how are you currently doing things? What do you like and dislike about your current process? What are the most important things that you want to keep track of? So this is also going to help you in determining how you want to actually keep track of things, whether it's in something like Asana or if it's Post-it notes on your wall. And then importantly, what type of planner are you? So I keep saying this, the reason why we decide, the reason why we figure out what type of planner we are is that we want to know our personality traits and see how they align with the many, many different methods of project management. So in my career, I have worked with so many different teams, and when I initially started out, it was a process that had been created by someone else who wasn't a project manager, and it was created for the actual projects and not the people working on the project. It took me a little while to figure out that this was a broken system, but once I did, I spent a lot of time meeting with everybody on the team and figuring out how they were actually doing things and being successful, and finding out what, the way that they were supposed to be doing things and why that wasn't working for them. So that's how I came up with the planning personalities. So there's 5 planning personalities, and each planning personality is associated with a project management method. So yes, there can be a mix of these things because we are not all just one personality, but the quiz is a very good start for this. Yeah, Holly and Dawn are both collaborators. So the collaborator process is very similar to, I'm not going to overwhelm anybody who isn't a project manager, but if you've ever heard of Agile or Scrum, the collaborator process is very similar to an Agile process. So it means that you work in cycles, and you really like feedback, and you like to work in teams, and you make a very good leader. I am actually a visualist, and that is more closely associated with the Kanban method, which is like a board layout, if like Trello. So basically it just means I'm very visual, and I like to write things on Post-it notes and have them in front of me, and move things from a in process list to a completed list, or write things down and cross them off, things like that. And I just told you all about this. So, so this is the quiz. What's your planning personality? You can find it at withkatib.com/planningpersonality. So like I said, it's 10 questions. It takes less than a minute, I think. I mean, Dawn, Holly, you can tell me if it took you longer than that. And you get a result right away. I mean, obviously you put in your email address. Then you're going to get a couple of emails from me. So the first one will be your result with a little bit more information. Pay attention because I'm actually telling you about a funnel. And then you'll get an email that outlines the actual process that goes along with your personality, with a worksheet to help you keep on track with that. And then there will be another email that has a little bit more information and a little story about how this works in the real world. So let me know if you have any questions about everything that I super quickly went through. I can't believe that was only 20 minutes. I'm just going to sit here and drink my wine until either Holly or Dawn asks me a question. And I know there's a little delay on this. Thank you, Dawn. I think that it's pretty accurate too. I've had a lot of people tell me that it was super accurate. And I really enjoyed making this quiz. I used Try Interact, and it was really fun, actually. And there's a lot of GIFs in there. I tried to make the quiz questions as fun as possible. So I don't ask you things like how you're currently doing things. I ask you things like, if you could live anywhere, where would you want to live? Oh, good question. Don asked, what advice would I have for someone working and running a business? So that actually goes back to figuring out how much time you realistically have. I also work full time, and I'm very lucky that I am able to work from home. So I do have periods of time throughout the day where I can work on certain business things. But what is most important is creating boundaries so that you know this is work time, like work job time, and then this is work business time. I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday specifically for my business. Like those are my days to work. I might work on other days if I feel like it. So it's figuring out what your work schedule is, and even if that changes every week, like being flexible with your work schedule if you have different days every week. And then once you get your schedule, blocking out your actual work time for your business. Is that what you meant, Dawn, with that question? And I know this is very, it's very hard to, when you're working and starting out with a business, it can be very overwhelming. But the best piece of advice I have for you is to just allow yourself the space and the time to figure out how to do things up front. So a lot of the things that I went over tonight are going to take you some extra time in the beginning, but they end up saving you so much time later. So that is, there's a ton of trial and error. Nobody starts a business and makes tons of money and is super successful right out of the box. And if they do, they probably are not very sustainable. So most businesses start out very slow and they very slowly work their way up to being successful. And then they have that sustainability because they have built trust with their clients. They have become known in their community, so this is what makes them sustainable. Those get rich quick schemes, they're not that sustainable. I know a lot of people who have done them, they've made a lot of money, and now they're doing something else. All right, and so finally, I want to announce on Dawn's behalf and mine that Dawn and I are doing a workshop Thursday, December 17th. We want to help you plan 2021. So I will be handling the marketing stuff. Dawn, of course, will be handling the finance stuff, and we are going to walk you through planning out 2021. So this is going to be a live workshop on Zoom. I think I will go first, and then Dawn, and then we're going to have Q&A at the end. It's going to be really amazing. We're going to have some freebies for you, maybe some prizes, and I think it's going to be really exciting and fun, and we will definitely be bringing the wine. So if you want to pre-sign up for this, because this is literally the first time we've announced this, you can go to withkatib.com/2021 workshop. We have a very basic landing page right now, and it's literally just a sign-up form that I don't even think I've connected to an email yet. So don't expect much today after you sign up for that, but it will all be up and running by tomorrow. Yes, the get your shit together experts. That's Dawn and I are officially the get your shit together experts. All right, so like I said earlier, if you have any questions, just be sure to tag me in the comments and I will write you back in the comments. And thank you again, Dawn. This is really fun. I'm super excited too. Yes, we're known. So great. All right, well, thank you guys. Thank you, Holly and Dawn, for hanging out with me. And I will see the rest of you later. Cheers.